Good morning, everyone. I am Aldrin Bautista, your discussant for this morning, and I was tasked to give you a workshop on weekly home learning plan and activity sheets. So that is stipulated in the Division Memorandum number 484, series of 2020. For the rationale, in accordance with the directives from the Office of the President that no face-to-face classes shall be held until vaccine for COVID-19 becomes available in the country. In doing so, through the issuance of DepEd Memorandum Curriculum Instruction 2020-00162, the distance learning modalities shall be implemented this school year 2020 to 2021. While the pending issuance of the DepEd order on the policy guidelines on the implementation of learning delivery modalities for the formal education is on hold, the curriculum and instruction strand at the DepEd Central Office provides the suggested strategies in implementing and managing the DLDM. As for our objectives, which will serve as our guiding stars for this session, you will be provided with the background of the use of weekly home learning plan, present and discuss, of course, the accomplished weekly home learning plan in English 9, develop weekly home learning plan for regular class and other learning materials for quarter 2. Now, let's get to know what is the weekly home learning plan, or popularly known as WHLP. So, in the DepEd Order number 42 series of 2016 regarding policy guidelines on daily preparation for the K-12 basic education program, it provides the legal basis of lesson plan preparation for the basic education. It indicates therein the necessity of lesson planning, which serves as a guide for instruction and contains detail of what a teacher and learners will do in order to meet the required learning competencies through the weekly home learning plan. It shall also be communicated through the parents for their reference and guidance, wherein copies of the plans for the entire first quarter and the following may be distributed to the parents during the PTA meeting. They shall also be given a comprehensive and clear orientation by the school about the contents, purpose, and use of the learning plan by the children. Now let's get to know what are the parts of a weekly home learning plan. There are actually 5 parts of our WHLP. We have day and time, learning area, learning competencies, learning tasks, and mode of delivery. So under day and time, it should be based on our class program for the school year. If, let's say, for example, we have 4 subjects, therefore, we are going to prepare 4 weekly home learning plan respectively for each subjects. So when we say learning area, this refers to the subjects prescribed to be taken by the learners in particular grade level. While learning competencies, this refers to the KSAVs, or knowledge, skills, attitude, and values that our learners need to demonstrate in every lesson or in every learning activities they would have. Another thing is the learning tasks. So when we say learning tasks, it has something to do with the formative learning opportunities created for learners in order to enhance their understanding of the content. Okay? So the self-instructional modules has learning activities provided for the students. All these tasks are taken from our self-learning modules, or so-called the SLMS. And lastly is the mode of delivery. So This refers to the method of submission of learning outputs preferred by the learners, like online submission through email, personal submission by the parents in school. They can also send outputs to Google Classroom account or Messenger provided by the teacher of any other platform recommended by them. So here is an example of a weekly home learning plan. This actually serve as a guide for the parents and the students as to how they are going to manage their learning. So as you can see, we have already encoded here the day and time as to when they are going to accomplish their task every week. So the learning area, since I am handling English, so I have to put English. And the learning competency, they have to make connections between text to particular social issues, concerns, or dispositions, and real life. So I took the competency in the MELC, so-called the most essential learning competencies that is issued by our by our Undersecretary Diosdado San Antonio in the DepEd Central Office. And next are the learning tasks that are taken from our SLMS, or the self-learning modules for our learners. And the mode of delivery that I have thought of that is feasible for the learners is that since they are in the modular distance learning, they can personally submit their outputs, okay, with the help of their parents by sending it at school. They can also submit through the community kiosk, okay, that is nearby them. And they can also send outputs through Messenger if possible for the learners to do so. So let's get back to the learning tasks. So as you can see in my learning tasks, under introduction phase, there are no learning tasks, but there is an activity being given. Okay, so on the development phase, we have 3 learning tasks, okay, embedded there in that specific phase of learning. So we have to follow the idea phase of learning, okay, among our students. Okay, on the engagement part, there are actually 7 learning tasks. I am not saying that you are going to put all the learning tasks for the learners to accomplish every week. If you think they cannot, they're not able to answer all of those. Let's say, for example, they can just answer 5 learning tasks, and you think that these 5 learning tasks could achieve your learning competency, then that would be enough. Okay, there's no need for you to let them answer all of the learning tasks that is embedded in the SLMS. Okay, so for the assimilation phase, I have only one, okay, learning task. So I'll just give you a walkthrough of my weekly home learning plan for the MDL learners. Okay, so this is the last part of my weekly home learning plan. So I have not included the signatories herein, but we really have to put the signatories, the name of the teachers, or should I say the subject teachers of your learners, and you have to put their numbers also, so that if they have questions, queries about the lessons, they can easily reach you out. Okay, so now, how are we going to develop our weekly home learning plans? Now that we have a glimpse of how it looks like, now let's get to know the step-by-step procedure as to how we are going to develop our weekly home learning plan. So first, you have to refer to the most essential learning competencies, or your MELC, of your specific subject area. Then you get or gather the self-learning modules and other learning materials that is needed for self-paced learning mode. Okay? And then afterwards, using the SLMS as a reference, you have to accomplish the weekly home learning plan by taking into consideration the learning competencies, key concepts, essential understandings, and to the attainment of the content standards. That is our main goal. So next, as a subject teacher, we have to collaborate and come up with a set of weekly home learning plans for one entire quarter or grading period by integrating all the subjects in one learning plan. And then, when we are preparing the weekly home learning plan, as teachers, we should be guided with a long term vision of what we want our learners to master and achieve in terms of the content and competencies at the end of the school year. So, hence, we have to begin or start with the end in mind. Understood? And teachers must be advised to adopt strategies that respect the unique context and diversity of learners in terms of their readiness, learning interests, and learning profile. What I'm trying to say, we all know that our learners have this so-called individual differences. So we must provide differentiated instruction. Okay? It may be manifested by giving them varied activities that are somehow interesting, engaging, challenging through on level tasks, above level tasks, or below level tasks to various groups of learners because this will allow them, okay, to route access at varying level so that every learner is appropriately challenged and comes away with such skills and understanding at the end of the lesson. And lastly, in plotting the learning tasks, teachers should strike a balance on the aspect of learning capacity of the learners. Since the completion of the learning tasks are done primarily at home, learners should be given the opportunity and flexibility to manage their own learning without sacrificing time-bound attainment of learning competencies. We have already gathered data that most of our learnings are having hard time in accomplishing their learning tasks because it's too many. Okay, we are giving them a lot of loads in terms of their learning tasks. And another struggles that they're facing is that they're having hard time to understand the lesson that is being given to them, especially for the major subjects such as English, science, and the most difficult subject ever being encountered by our learners is in math. Okay, so we really have to be very considerate, okay, on the aspects of learnings of our learners. So we have to scaffold them, okay, and give considerations as much as possible. Okay, so if you have any further question about my session for this morning, please feel free to share it with me, and then I will try to answer all of those as much as I can. So thank you so much for listening, and God bless everyone.